morning I am making my form of immunity soup or a healing soup. Sometimes I'll use the same recipe to make our vegetable broth for the week. And we don't eat any animal products, so we use vegetable broths or soups that do not include any animal products. And so far I just filled up this large pot with water. I added a little bit of horseradish. I'm going to chop some onion to throw in there. It doesn't have to be nice and neat. It can be a rough chop. Throw some on the floor. I'm using a dark red onion. I call them red onions, but it's actually purple, isn't it? That beautiful color is full of antioxidants and cancer fighters, and so I'm going to throw that in. I'm going to use 3 cloves of garlic. I could use more if I want to. I'm going to crush them with the back of my knife. I'm going to make sure that my hand is touching the top of the knife, not the bottom. As I squish the garlic cloves, you can see the paper kind of pops off of there. I'll peel the paper off. Good, I had one little one hiding in there. And I'm gonna let that sit and let the Allicin form. Garlic is antimicrobial, antibacterial, antifungal, and the list goes on and on. Let me squish this one a little bit more. The onion is gonna make me cry a little bit. I usually cut onions off camera because I do cry, and yes, I have tried every method to keep from crying. Haven't found one that works yet. I'll let that sit for a minute. You may have seen in a picture or post earlier, we're growing these oyster mushrooms, and this is a brown oyster mushroom. I'm just going to thinly slice it. See, when I chop, I don't lift the tip of my knife up. I keep it down and I just slide back and forth. I'm going to add some celery and some garlic. I usually cut it into thirds, and then I'll cut that in half, just because I want it in smaller pieces. Celery adds a natural salt. It's also full of minerals. Throw the celery in. And I want some ginger. Ginger, I have a larger piece too. Ginger is anti-inflammatory. It's been used in a lot of curries. It's very good for brain health. It is also full of all sorts of phytonutrients that are healthy for our body. So I'm just going to grate it. If you don't use a lot of ginger when you buy it, if you'll keep it in the freezer, it's very easy to grate while it's frozen. And it'll last you a lot longer. It's fine if you just freeze it. This one was fresh. I've noticed that I didn't peel it. This was an organic ginger, and so I'm not worried about peeling it. And a lot of the nutrients are in the skin and in the area that holds the skin to the flesh. And so that is why I don't peel it unless it's not organic, or if I can't clean it really well. And this was cleaned. Alright, then I'm going to chop up these garlic cloves. I didn't get all of the peel off. My hands are Notice I didn't cut off the little ends. You can cut those off. Let me see that on the camera. You can cut those off if you want to. They don't bother me, so I leave them on. And I need to get in the habit of scraping at the back of the knife, not the blade. I don't want to dull the knife. So I'm just running my knife back and forth. We love garlic. It goes in a lot of our items here. So good for you. I'm going to add carrot. I'm going to cut it a lot like I did the celery. If you like bigger chunks, then you can leave bigger chunks. I'm going to only cook this for about an hour, and so I want smaller pieces. Just cutting it in half to make it flat. And then we'll just have half circles. I have kind of small hands, or I would stack more of them together. Carrots full of beta carotene. You can see I put so many different colors in this soup. Each color has a different phytonutrient that's helpful for our body, so that's why I use the different colors. I love cruciferous vegetables. I decided that I wanted to put a little bit of broccoli in this week's soup. You can cut it into bite-sized pieces. I'm going to keep a leaf. Isn't it pretty? It tastes delicious. And I'm just rough chopping this. Keeping my fingers out of the way, of course. Cruciferous vegetables like broccoli, kale, collards are also cancer fighters. They contain sulforaphane, which is very good for all of us. Whew. The onions are still getting me. Trying to hurry for the video. I like the stems and the florets. These, of course, were all washed beforehand. I did cut the bottom off. That's just not quite as tender. I didn't even show you what I just did. I'm adding kale. Here's a kale leaf that I got the farmer to pick for me this morning, still dripping with some water. I just hold it by the stem. Can you see that? And I'm just going to grip it and rub my fingers down. And there we are with the stem. Shane actually doesn't mind when I leave the stems alone. They're a little tough to me. So I'm just going to roll the leaves up and just rough chop or slice kale. Isn't that beautiful? Fresh from the garden, so I know it is full of so many minerals. Hear my coffee maker beeping in the background. Alright, I have a few more things I wanted to add. Let me wipe my hands here. And I'm going to add some more kale and things too off camera. I was just wanting to show you everything that I'm doing so far. So this is liquid aminos. I am allergic to wheat, and so this is my soy sauce alternative that I use. And this will add some salt. I'm going to add just a little bit. I could also use salt. We use the Himalayan salt, the pink Himalayan salt, just because it has more minerals than the regular salt that most table salt people buy. But because it doesn't have iodine, I'm going to add some iodine. So this is kombu this is Emerald Cove. Maine Coast is also a good choice. It's coming from clean water right now. You can see this is seaweed. And it comes in these sheets. See if I can pull some out. You can see these sheets. I don't need a piece this large. And so I'm just going to tear a piece off like this. And this is mucilaginous and helps to heal the gut and heal any mucous membranes in there. So anyone who's having some gut issues, kombu is a good choice. If you have trouble digesting beans, it's good to add this. You can treat it kind of like a bay leaf. What's going to happen is it's going to swell up and it's going to get kind of gooey, so it'll be easy to fish out of the soup. But you could also chop it up finely and throw it back in and eat it, and that's what I normally do. So I'm going to throw this into the soup as well. And then I'm going to add some spices. I have some oregano that we dried from or this is rosemary that we dried from our farm. Rosemary is antibacterial, full of all sorts of wonderful nutrients, as well as thyme and oregano. I don't have any oregano right here, but I'll add some later. This one is not from my farm. I'm going to add some in. And I'm going to add a little bit of cayenne because that is great for blood pressure. I don't have a little spoon. Hopefully I won't spill too much into the soup. There we go. It just stabilizes blood pressure. It's very good for strengthening the heart. It's very good. So you can see I've got a different label on the top. This is some cayenne that we dried from our farm. Anyway, I'm going to stir this and put it on the stove. Will you hand me, I have a soup in the refrigerator so I can show what the finished product looks like. I'm going to stick this on the stove, bring it to a boil, cover it, reduce it to simmer, and leave it to cook for about an hour. And because we eat this as a soup right now, I'm just going to put it in mason jars. And if I want a broth for a dish later in the week, then I will just strain it and use the broth. And so this is last week's soup that I'm about to toss out. And you can see this has kale and the mushrooms. I did not put broccoli in this one. Anyway, you can see I don't really use a recipe. It's just throw some carrots in, throw some kale in, throw some onions in, and the ginger and the garlic and the spices. Try it out. Enjoy.